All right, guys, we are going to convert fraction, decimals, and percents into each other. Here's a couple of things to remember. We always want to convert them into decimals. So in the next lesson, we're going to be talking about comparing and ordering them, and we're going to compare and order them with their decimals. So we have to be able to break them down. Remember that the decimal is always going to be your middleman. Okay, so you essentially always want to get to the decimal. Another really key thing that we're going to be talking about this whole time is DIP. Okay, and that stands for decimal into percent. You would double dip to the right. And then percent into decimal, we double dip to the left. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on a couple of these. All right, the first one we're going to start with is fractions, and then we're going to convert them into decimals and then go to percents. Once again, the decimal is really what we're trying to get to, okay? So let's start with 2/3. Here's the good news. In 7th grade, you didn't get to use your calculator for this. In 8th grade, we do. So, woo, pretty excited about it. So all you would do is grab into your calculator and put 2 divided by 3. And this is what you're going to see. Y'all, all that is 0.666666666 forever. That 7 is there because the calculator rounds it for you. So technically it's not there. So the way I would write that as a decimal is 0.6 repeating. Okay, 0.6 repeating. Now, most of these I'm going to want to go to 3 decimal places. So if it says round to the nearest hundredth or thousandth, whatever, you would go ahead and round that, or you would write that as 0.666. Okay, but the correct answer is going to be with the line over it because that's repeating. Now, for percents, we dip, which means we're going to double dip to the right. Okay, right? Decimal. We're in a decimal. We're going to percent. So we're in a decimal, we're going to percent, so we're going to double dip to the right. So if we take our decimal, we go ahead and then we double dip it. So I go to the decimal, 1, 2, there's my new decimal place. Guys, that is not your answer. The reason that that's not your answer is that's got 2 decimals, got loop-de-loops, everything else. Okay, you got to rewrite it as 66.6%. Once again, this is a repeating decimal. So go ahead and put your line over it, okay? All right, if we are given 5/12, exact same thing in your calculator, 5 divided by 12, enter, and we will get 0.4166 and so forth, okay? We only need to go to the nearest thousandth, so 3 decimal places, so I'm just going to go ahead and stop it right there, okay? All right, so then we take that, and if we, ooh, sorry guys, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so if you take that number and you rewrite it over to the right, we're going, so dip, we're going to the right, so we double dip to the right. Once again, that's not my answer. That is only the work. So my answer is 41.6%. Now for my people that were like, actually, Miss Beck, if you checked it out, the 6 repeated. So I need to actually have this there. That would even be a more correct answer. So if you didn't put the line over, it ain't wrong. It just ain't right. All right, 8/3. That's an improper fraction. Nothing to stress out about. All you do is put 8 divided by 3 into your calculator, and you should get 2 point. I was really here. Let's do 7/3 just because we're just really. Let's do 7/3. All right, so 7 divided by 3 is 2.333, so forth. Okay, that's done. However, I need to rewrite that as 2.3 repeating. All right, I go to, oh gosh, again. I go over to my decimal. I'm going decimal to percent, so I'm going to the right. Once again, dip. I'm going decimal to percent. So I'm going to go to the right twice. So I go to the decimal and I go 1, 2, write your decimal right there. And so this final answer would be 233.3%. Once again, that 3 was repeating, so we need to put our line up there, okay? All right, while we're on it, this is a mixed number, 7 8/9, okay? All you do is you take the whole number, which is 7, write it. 8/9 is your decimal, so decimal. And now in my calculator, 8 divided by 9 is 0.8 repeating forever. So when I rewrite that, this is 7.8 repeating. When I turn that into a percent, I'm going to double dip to the right. And this is 788.8 repeating percent. Okay? So don't be freaked out about, bigger numbers. If it's a whole number or an improper fraction, it is going to be over 100%. All right, so here's the first you try. Try 7/11. You're going to turn it into a decimal and then into a percent. Okay, now try 1/3. You're going to turn it into a decimal and then into a percent. And lastly, try 4 2/5. You're going to also turn that into a decimal and then into a percent. So let's go over it. So you should have gotten for 7/11, I put 7 divided by 3 into my calculator, and you should have gotten 0.636363 and so forth. So the way I would write that is 0.63. So the 63 is repeating, so I would put the bar over the entire 63. For the percent, I would take my decimal and I would double dip it. 1, 2. So that's 63.6363, so forth. So I rewrite that as 63.63 repeating percent. Notice how my repeating is never on the whole number. It's only on the decimal. For 1/3, I would go ahead and put that in my calculator, and 1/3 is 0.3 repeating forever and ever. So I rewrite that as 0.3 with the bar over it. For the percent, I go ahead and I double dip it. So that's 33.33333333, which is 33.3, put your line, repeating, percent. And last but not least, 4 2/5. So I start off by writing the whole number, which is 4. And then in my calculator, I do 2 divided by 5, which is 0.4. So 4.4, that's it. Nothing's repeating. It's just 4.4. Done. In terms of my decimal, my percent, I go to my decimal and then I double dip to the right. Now here's the question of the century. What do I do with this empty, I always call them egg cartons because that's what they look like to me. If it's empty, you just add a 0, y'all. That's it. So now I would rewrite that because once again, this is your work. That is not your answer. Your answer is 440%. All right, now let's go to decimal. So if they give you a decimal, remember the decimal is the middleman. So I can go ahead and go to percent and fraction, but I have to start off. I can go either one first. So let's go to percent because that's by far the easiest, right? So remember, dip. Okay, this time we're starting at a decimal, we're going to percent. Oops, I don't know why I did 3. Okay, so we're still going to the right. So I would take 0.19, double dip. That's not my answer, that's my work. Rewrite it. Here's my decimal now, so this is 19%. Now, when you go from a decimal to a fraction, you write it like you say it. You write it like you say it. So this is the tenths place, the hundredths place. There's no such thing as oneths place. So this is the tenths, this is the hundredths. So this is 19 hundredths. 19 hundredths. And then the last thing we have to check is if that is reduced fully. And sure enough, 19 is a prime number. So I'm good to go. All right, let's try 2.6. So 2.6, I'm going to go ahead and make that into a percent first. So 2.6, which means I'm dipping, so I'm going to go to the right twice. 1, 2. That egg carton is empty, so I add my egg. I rewrite that as 260%. Once again, we write it like we say it. So this is 2 and 6/10. So 2 and 6/10. 6/10. 2 and 6/10. Now, what you should be looking at right now is that this is by no means reduced. So I know it's not reduced because they're both even, so I can divide top and bottom by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5. This is reduced, and that is my fraction. And here's a fun little reminder from 6th grade, actually. If we want to make this into an improper fraction, 5 times 2 is 10, and then you add your 3, so that's actually 13/5. All right, here's your U-tries for this section. Turn 0.7 into a percent and a fraction. And turn 4.11, so 4 and 11/100ths into a percent and a fraction. All right, so for percent, 0.7, I double dip, I add my 0, this is 70%. And for a fraction, I write it like I say it. That is 7/10, not 7/1, that's 7/10, because it's just one decimal place, so 7/10. Is it reduced? Yes. All right, for 4/11ths, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and turn that into a percent first, which means I just double dip, 1, 2. I don't have to add any zeros or anything because everything's good to go. There's no empty spots. So that's 411%. For a fraction, I write it like I say it. So 4 and 11, this is tenths, hundredths. 4 and 11/100ths. And last but not least, the last one is going from a percent to a decimal and then to a fraction. Once again, decimal is the middleman, so you always got to go to a decimal if you're not currently in a decimal. So this time we're actually going to go backwards for dip. So this time we're at percent and we need to get to decimal. So we're going to go to the left. So the first thing we're going to go to is decimal. So we take the 40% and we start here. That's where the decimal currently is. We're going to go to the left. And that's my new. That's my work, so I rewrite this as 0.4. Once again, if there's no number to the left of the decimal, y'all put a 0. Okay? And then for a fraction, okay, once again, we write it like we say it. 0.4. So that's 4/10, right? That's the first decimal place, tenths. What's wrong with that? It's not reduced because they're both even, so we divide top and bottom by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. That's 2/5. Okay? And honestly, looking back up to this 40%, 40% of 100, right? Because 100% is where, you know, give 100%. So 40% of 100% is 40 over 100 and so forth. But I just like to do it like that. And then last one. So 32.5%. Once again, 32.5%. I have to double dip, but I have to go to the left because I'm going to percent to decimal. So 1, 2, there's my new decimal, 0.325. What's missing there? My 0 out front. And then this one's unfortunate, but it is what it is. We got to write it like we say it. So first of all, I know it's 325 over tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So thousandths. Now, they're both ending in a 5 and 0. If something ends at 5 or 0, it's divisible by 5. So I know I can divide top and bottom by 5. So in your calculator, 325 divided by 5 is 65. 1,000 divided by 5 is 200. Once again, I can divide top and bottom by 5 because it ends in a 5 or a 0. And then 200 divided by 5, oops, I did times. 200 divided by 5 is 40. And that is fully reduced. Here are the you try it's. Try 147%. Oh, nope. Just kidding. This is actually my last one. Hold on one second. Okay, guys, we're going to go lightning speed because we're almost done with time. So we double dip to the left. That's 1.47. So I write it like I say it, which would mean 1 and 47/100ths. And lucky for me, 47 is actually a prime number. So I'm done.